Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Camden and welcome back today to another live stream, our second live stream of today. We're going to be talking about the upcoming Premier League fixture between Huddersfield Town and Everton at the John Smith Stadium tomorrow night. A midweek game for the Blues, a game that's probably come at the best time for Everton at the minute, wanting to get that awful FA Cup defeat out of our system and get back on track in the Premier League, because that's all we have to go for this season. That's all we have to play for now, is points in the Premier League. We're out of both domestic competitions, so it's important that these games that we play, we need to be getting 3 points on the board in pretty much all of them. Certainly a game against a team that is rock bottom at the bottom of the Premier League, looking like they're going to be relegated. They've only won twice this season and they've drawn 5 times, losing 16 games. So if there's ever a time for an Everton, it's now in terms of Huddersfield. They've literally just changed their manager. Previous manager David Wagner is gone and this is their first game under new management, and probably the worst time for us to play a team like Huddersfield because they're under new management, but the best time for us to play a Premier League game because we need to get points on the board and we need to start winning football matches, because the form recently has not been good enough at all and the recent performances haven't been good enough either. You know, the loss to Millwall last weekend in the FA Cup, obviously the result against Southampton the weekend before that, Leicester on New Year's Day. May I continue? I won't. But the results and the performances specifically have not been good enough. The lads have been walking around the football pitch, not showing enough heart, not showing enough passion, not showing enough fight, and just not seeming arsed about this football club one bit. And that's what makes me feel physically sick, that players are running around on hundreds of thousands of pounds a week and won't even give their everything to our football club. Listen, managerial wise, there's been a lot of stuff all over Twitter. We spoke about it on the game review to the Millwall game just before earlier on today. There's been a lot of stuff on Twitter about Marco Silva. Is he the right man? Is he not the right man? Is he good enough to take us forward, or should he leave the club now? For me, I think a lot of you know my opinion on this. I think Marco Silva is the right man to take us forward. I think, you know, you have to look at other issues at the club, and I think there is a lot of other issues at the club and not just Marco Silva. I think, don't get me wrong, he hasn't been perfect and he hasn't been tactically the best thing since sliced bread. However, you have to look at the fact that he's not being backed in this transfer window, the fact that the last transfer window ended before the Premier League had started, and the fact that the bare minimum we expect as fans is that the players go out and show their heart week in, week out, and show a bit of passion, and that's what they're not doing at the minute, and that for me isn't good enough. And how much of that is down to Marco Silva, I'm unsure. For me, if the players aren't going out there and they're not showing fight and they're not showing passion, that's on them and they need to take the responsibility for that. I'm just going to tweet the stream out so everybody on Twitter knows we are live for the second time today. Absolutely smashing the videos out at the minute, as obviously we play another set of games in such a short period of time. I think, you know, listen, I think that excuse was used in December as, oh, maybe we've dropped form because we're playing a lot of football. Maybe we've dropped form because of the Derby defeat. Listen, it ain't an excuse for me now. We need to just get back to winning ways, and what better way to do it than a team that are rock bottom of the Premier League, having only won twice this season and drawn 5 times. And by the way, one of those draws was against Everton at Goodison Park. Listen, yes, they're under new management and they'll be raring to go and raring to try and prove themselves. The fans will be up for it, the players will be up for it, and I think one thing is for certain in this game is that Huddersfield will show fight and Huddersfield will show passion and they will show intensity, because A, they're fighting to stay in this league, and at the minute it's not looking like they're going to, and B, like I said, they've got a new manager. It's a fresh start for them and they'll be looking to get some really important points on the board. They've only won 2 games this season, drawn 5 like I mentioned, so they really need to start getting points on the board. And if they come with that passion and if they come with that fight and we don't, then it could be a really difficult game for us. And if we get beat tomorrow night against Huddersfield, then the questions will still be bouncing in about Marco Silva. Should he be sacked? You know, there's a lot of people on Twitter now saying he's not good enough and sack him. If we lose tomorrow, that number will only increase and people will only start to come out as saying, you know what, maybe he's not the right man, maybe he should go. For me, I don't think he will be sacked, win, draw or lose tomorrow, and I think it's the right decision to not sack him, because, like I said, I just think there's other issues, and I think for me, you have to look forward and you have to look beyond Silva, and if we are prepared to sack him and let him go, who comes in? Who do we bring in to replace him? And that's the big question, and I think that's the question that on a lot of fans' minds, is that I think a lot of fans are in the boat of saying, listen, yeah, it mightn't have been fantastic, it mightn't have been perfect this season, but who do we bring in if Silva goes? And I think that's the big question, of course. Let's jump into the live comments now. AXM Music says, these players are playing for Silva's job now. Yep, they are, and it's down to them. They're playing for themselves as well. For me, listen, Silva in, Silva out, it's all irrelevant. If Gylfi Sigurdsson doesn't put in a proper performance tomorrow, if Idrissa Gana Gueye doesn't put in a proper performance tomorrow, if, you know, other players don't put in top performances and show that they really are bothered about this football club, then if Silva goes, I'd be trying to, you know, I'd be saying to them as well, obviously not in January, but in the summer, I'd be saying, listen, you ain't good enough, you ain't playing for the shirt either. So let's not just put all the blame on Silva. The players need to take the responsibility as well. Andrew says, probably the worst team to play them. That is my opinion. We need to show up and fight for every ball to win the game. It's a must-win game for us. It is a must-win game for us, absolutely 100%. And like I said, they will be up for it. They will be willing to fight, and they will be willing to show their passion under new management. And listen, they need points on the board, because if they don't start winning football matches, they're going back down to the Championship, and that's not what they want at all this season. So it's important for them to start winning, as equally as it's an important for us. And we're going to sit here again and do another game preview, and we're going to sit here again and I'm going to say it all boils down to who wants it more. And we've said that now for the Southampton game, we've said it for the Leicester game, we've said it for the Millwall game, and we've played, you know, 3 teams there, 3 that we should have been beating, one of them including a Championship team. All 3 have beaten us because they've wanted it more. Our players need to start showing passion and grit and fight and showing that they want it more, and that's what we need to do tomorrow. Because listen, yes, Huddersfield mightn't have got many points on the board. Yes, they might be in a sticky situation at the minute. But if they showed that they want it more than Everton, anything can happen in this Premier League. And if we get beat tomorrow, then we are really, really in a dangerous situation, in my opinion. John says, nearly 300 subs, Cam. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, John. Massively appreciated. Yeah, I think we're 9 subs away from 300 now. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe. It only takes a second. Like the stream as well if you are enjoying it so far. Chan says, yes, I agree, Tosun playing up front, he deserves a couple of games to prove himself. However, personally, I think Tom Davies should play instead of Sigurdsson. Some players are tired mentally. Yeah, we'll talk about my predicted starting 11 in just a second, but that's a very, very good point. Like you've said there, Tom Davies may be involved tomorrow, he may have a start, and I don't think anybody could complain about Tom coming in, because listen, the midfield in the last 3-4 games hasn't been good enough at all in terms of being able to pass the ball, being creative enough. It just hasn't been good enough at all. So I don't think many fans could complain if Tom comes in and has another little run at it and gets another go, because I think he probably deserves it at the minute. AXM Music says, if it's the players to blame, not the manager, then who the frig is scouting them and paying these big bucks? Maybe they are the ones to be sacked. Well, exactly. And a lot of players have been here since before Marco Silva and since before Marcel Brands. And, you know, we had that period of time with Ronald Koeman and Steve Walsh, who just seemed to be wanting to give hundreds of thousands of pounds to any average Joe that once kicked the ball around. So I think there's your answer for that, and I think they've already been sacked, in my opinion. Andrew says, this is even more pressure from our fans if we lose this game. 100%. John says, I don't think that format works Everton, to be honest. Fair enough. Martin says, I get Kenny and McCarthy in, play Bernard right, Lookman left, Richarlison centre with Tosun up front. Fair enough. Ray O'Lear says, yes, Martin, I agree. We need people that want to play for the club and be aggressive. And then Martin says, Lookman is far more dangerous on the left, plays his best football there. I agree with that. I actually do agree that Lookman plays better on the left, and he's done that notoriously throughout his career, even playing for the England setup, England's under-21s, and the previous years as well, when he played in our unders as well. He does play better on the left, and I think it's a very, very good point. I think Lookman is adopting that right-hand side now that obviously Theo Walcott's having a little bit of time out the squad. Theo Walcott's having a little bit of a rest, and I think, for me personally, I would start Richarlison. I would, and I know a lot of people would say he hasn't been good enough in recent weeks. He hasn't been, you know, he's been throwing himself on the floor. He's not been doing enough. I agree with that. But in a game like this, against a team that really, really are struggling, against a team that defensively are quite poor, against a team that, you know, haven't got a lot to offer us, I think we need to play our best players, and I think Richarlison is definitely one of our better players, certainly in terms of scoring goals and putting the ball in the back of the net. Obviously, he's our top goal scorer this season, and yes, he mightn't be on the best form, but he can still pop up with a goal. He proved that against Millwall, you know, out of nowhere, 25 yards, he hits the ball, and yes, it's a dodgy keeper mistake, but he still manages to get it in the back of the net, and I think that's really important that we understand that when we're playing teams that aren't fantastically brilliant, like Huddersfield aren't, we need to play our best players and players that we know can put the ball in the back of the net. So I suppose we should go on to talk about my predicted starting 11, then we'll jump straight into it. Why not? I've gone for Jordan Pickford in goal. That one is, as is, pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to explain that. Back forward of Seamus Coleman, Kurt Zouma, Michael Keane and Luca Dean. Sorry, again, pretty much self-explanatory. Marco Silva spoke about Yerry Mina's injury. Yerry Mina obviously going off against Millwall with a slight foot injury at half-time. Marco Silva said we've done some tests on him, we've done some scans on him today. We'll do some further scans tomorrow and we'll assess how fit he is. I don't think he'll make the cut, to be honest. I just don't think he'll be fit enough. I think if he was going to play tomorrow and going to start, Marco Silva would have known today that he was going to be fit. But the fact that he said, listen, we still need to, you know, assess him and we still need to run him through some tests to see how injured he actually is. It's an injury on his left foot, I believe Marco Silva said. That all to me says that, you know, he's not going to feature us. He's not going to start at least tomorrow. And for me personally, I would keep Michael Keane and Kurt Zouma in anyway. I think, you know, yes, they weren't fantastic against Southampton, and yes, okay, when he come on against Millwall, they didn't have a brilliant partnership there either. We still conceded goals, but I think at the minute we need to allow Kurt Zouma and Michael Keane to make the mistakes, because we need to allow them to play through that, and we need to allow them to be able to, you know, push on and prove that they are two really, really good centre-halves. Because for me, I think Kurt Zouma is a fantastic centre-back. Yes, he hasn't been in the last couple of weeks, but I think overall he's a fantastic centre-back. And I think Michael Keane's been a lot better this season as well, a lot more improved than he has been, than he was last season, of course. Yes, he's still up and down a little bit, but I just think them two at the minute are our most solid centre-backs, and that's why I would play them. Going into midfield, then I've gone for a little bit of a mix-up. I've gone for Adisa Garnegay and Gylfi Sigurdsson as the back centre. Now, I just want to announce, while I'm obviously mentioning this team, this Gylfi Sigurdsson, Adisa Garnegay, Andre Gomez role, I've scrapped the centre defensive midfielder. I don't think it should be a central defensive midfielder. I don't think we are utilising Andre Gomez enough when he's played in a central defensive midfielder, and I don't think Adisa Garnegay needs to play as a central defensive midfielder. He can do his role in, you know, sweeping the ball up and winning the ball back and making things happen in that midfield without it being a defensive midfield. Now, the reason I've gone for Gylfi Sigurdsson next to him, couple of reasons. Obviously, I think the gay is pretty self-explanatory. The fact that Adisa Garnegay will start. Yes, there's been rumours about PSG after him. Yes, we've had a bid decline. Yes, there's been rumours about the player even wanting to move. But I just think, you know, if he's at the club, he plays, because he is one of our better players. He hasn't been fantastic in recent weeks, but overall he's one of our better players, and if he's at the club, then he plays for me first and foremost. I've gone for Gylfi Sigurdsson next to him. Now, we'll speak about Andre Gomez first. For me, I think Andre Gomez should be taken out for a week or so. Give him a little bit of a rest. He's played a lot of football in recent weeks, and he's played a lot of football since he's joined Everton. At Barcelona, he didn't really get a sniff in. He hadn't played consistently for 4 or 5 months. He's come in at Everton, obviously come in with an injury. It took him a month or so to get settled in at Everton, even more than a month or so, 2 months or so to get settled at Everton, and then since then he's played pretty much every football match in the Premier League since, and I think he probably deserves a little bit of a rest and a little bit of a time off the squad, because we're now seeing an Andre Gomez that, you know, people are starting to think, is he as good as we first thought? Obviously, he broke into the team and we could see that he was heads and tails better than any midfielder we had. He was absolutely fantastic and still is absolutely fantastic in my opinion. He's a wonderful footballer, but at the minute, I just think he's in a little bit of a purple patch, and I don't want us to overplay Gomez through this purple patch and damage his confidence and, you know, make him feel like he's almost has to play there every week, and make him feel like if he does want to rest or he does want a little bit of time off the squad, he can't have it because we're so reliant on him. For me, I think it would also benefit Gylfi Sigurdsson playing in that role. I think Gylfi has struggled this season playing a more of an attacking role and being that more of a creative midfielder, should we say. I think, listen, Gylfi Sigurdsson, when he's got the ball at his feet, I still think he's one of the best players in the Premier League, but I don't think he's consistent enough week in, week out, and I don't think he does it week in, week out, and I think a lot of times us as fans, and I think the players as well, look at Gylfi Sigurdsson and think, right, it's all on you now to do something. You are the star man, and I just don't think he's good enough to do that role. I think a more, not defensive, but a more just central midfield role rather than the number 10 or the central attacking midfield role would suit Gylfi, because it would allow him to play as a regular midfielder but be that attacking midfielder in the centre of the midfield, if that makes sense. You could have Gay next to him who could do the defensive dirty work but without being labelled a CDM, and Gylfi next to, you know, Gay, who could do the attacking work without being labelled a centred attacking midfielder. Just have a flat normal midfield and then see how they go. We've seen Gylfi play there before. I think he played there when we played Burnley, and we've seen how that game went. I think it's important that we take Gylfi out the limelight a little bit and we say, okay, maybe you're not on fantastic form at the minute, you're still going to play, but you're just going to have a little bit less responsibility going forward, and we're going to drop you back, and we're maybe going to put a Bernard, like I've predicted in this starting 11, or maybe a Lookman in the number 10, and they're going to play that attacking role, and they're going to be the, you know, the mastermind to string all the passes and the crosses and the shots at goal together, and you're just going to play the regular midfield role, but you're going to be in an attacking presence. So jump through the live comments now before we go on to talk about the rest of the team. I'm a little bit far behind, sorry. Where am I here? Jonathan, in the summer we need to get rid of shite like Sandro, etc. Bring Lozano in a top forward. I agree with that. If we could bring Lozano in a top forward, that would be unbelievable. Martin says Silva has the rest of the season to work on things, so we need to see some progress going into the summer. I also 100% agree with that. For me, like I said, I've said it in the last few weeks, ever since we've been on this sort of purple patch, if you like, I've said that for me, I will judge Marco Silva. Firstly, I will start to question Silva, firstly, on the first day of next season when I see how we line up. And if we're still lining up with players that aren't good enough to break into a top 6 side, that's when I'll go, why haven't these issues been addressed? I'm not judging him 5 months into his job, having one transfer window where, you know, a Premier League football hadn't been kicked, so he wasn't really to know which, you know, players are good enough to break into a top 6, and another transfer window in this one, January, where he's not being backed. So if he is backed in the summer properly, then that's when we can look at it at the start of next season and go, okay, how many of these players realistically are good enough to break into top 6 sides? And then going into next season, if we start to see, you know, at Christmas, if we're still in the same situation as we are now, that's for me when the real questions can be asked. I think it's just a little bit premature to jump on it now. If you are enjoying this team so far, please do leave a like, subscribe if you are new. So close to 300 subscribers now, so thank you all very much for that. AXM Music says, if the fans start booing after 15 minutes like usual, and this group of players and manager are doomed anyway. Yeah, I agree with that as well. We should get behind the players, because at the minute it's very clear that they're all void of confidence, and they're void of you know, any real intensity to win a football match. So it's important that we get behind them, and then there's no excuse. If we get behind the players, if we're supporting, if we're chanting as fans, and they're still not showing fight and they're still not showing desire on the pitch, then they've got no excuse, they've got nowhere to go in terms of why they're not showing up week in, week out. Andrew says, don't you think we should play 2 up front? It's a very, very good question. I wouldn't be against it. I think, you know, if we play in Tosun and maybe Calvert-Lewin, or Tosun and Richarlison up front, I wouldn't be against it. I think it may work. I just don't think Marco Silva will go with 2 up front. I don't think he favours 2 up front, and that's why I haven't predicted it. I wouldn't be against it. Like I said, I would quite enjoy seeing 2 strikers, and I think if we had a top quality striker and we could play maybe a Tosun or a Calvert-Lewin or a Richarlison next to him, then I'd definitely be up for 2 up front. But at the minute, I just don't think we've got enough quality to play that formation, and I don't think Marco Silva will play that formation, sorry. Mitchell says, dual win, let's have it right. Yes, we certainly are, 100%. That guy says, if we lose this game, do you think Silva is the right man for the job still? Should we give him more time to prove himself, or is he just a lost cause? Yeah, I think we still should give him more time to prove himself. I really, really do, because I think, listen, it's very, very clear that these players aren't good enough to get us where, let's just say for the long run, okay, in the long run, in the next 3 or 4 years, Denise Barrett-Baxendale, the CEO of Everton Football Club, has said, we want to be challenging for the Premier League and be in the Champions League. Okay, fair enough. There's the goal. Here's where we are now. The players that we currently have are not good enough to do that. They're not good enough to break into a top 6 side, in my opinion, a lot of them anyway. So for me, I think you can blame Marco Silva for certain situations, and I do blame Marco Silva for certain things this season. I think he has been tactically naive at times. I think his substitutions have been poor at times. I think his decision to change the centre-backs constantly is a bad decision. But I think there's also a lot of other issues at the football club that need resolving that, you know, aren't Marco Silva's fault. The fact that we've got a lot of dead wood in this squad isn't Marco Silva's fault. The fact that he's struggling to ship a midfielder like Morgan Schneiderlin, who's on 130 grand a week, isn't his fault. It's just the fact that nobody wants to pay the money for him. Nobody wants to pay Sandro's wages. Nobody wants to buy Niasse outright. This ain't Silva's fault. This is just the fact that the players he's being left with are not good enough. So for me, I think we should back him, and I think Machedi should give him the money, or he should at least make a decision, back him or sack him. And if Machedi is keeping to his word, which is we back Marco Silva and we trust him with this project, which is what he said at the AGM, which, like I mentioned in the game review to the Millwall game, the AGM was after the Liverpool game, it was after the Spurs game, it was during this poor run of performances. So if he is backing Marco Silva, give him the money to improve this squad. Let him improve this squad. Let him bring his players in. Let Brands bring his players in. And let us improve on this squad. And, you know, give him the opportunity. Give him the tools to succeed. And then once he's got them tools, we can decide if he's the right man for the job. Because at the minute, I don't particularly think he does have them tools to succeed. Andrew says, Tossin and Calvert-Lewin, I assume you're going up for the two up front there. I think, yeah, they definitely could work. It will be interesting to see. I'm just not too sure Marco Silva will do that. Martin says, yeah, we can play 4-4-2 with two up front. Yep. Jamie says, got to win, or we are in great danger of falling behind teams like West Ham, Watford, or even newly promoted Wolves. Exactly. I think the league table at the minute is very, very tight. It's a very tight situation between us in 11th and 7th position as well. I think we're 2 or 3 points away from 7th, which is nothing. If we win tomorrow and then we go on and win the next few games and we get some points on the board and the teams around us lose, then automatically we're, you know, pole position for that 7th place, and you're starting to look at it and go, okay, whereas the other day we mightn't have been, you know, in pole position, we're now 7th, and if we carry on a decent run of winning games, you know, we probably will finish 7th. However, on the flip side, if we lose tomorrow and we can't get the 3 points and other teams around us lose, you're right, we are in great danger of teams taking over us and us falling down the table. We're not going to fall deep down the table in terms of the relegation battle and all that, but if we don't finish 7th this season, for me, it's a failed season, in my opinion. Mitchell says, Cenk and DCL up front is a pure little forward too. Harsh, but, you know, opinion's an opinion. That guy says, to be honest, obviously the team needs to up their game and improve, but I do think that our fans need to improve, especially at home. Goodison's atmosphere is a joke at the moment. I agree with that. We've done a live stream about the atmosphere a couple of weeks back. Feel free to check that out if you haven't already. I might bring it up again in another live stream. I might talk about it again, because I agree the atmosphere, you know, recently, in recent weeks, certainly at Goodison, has just been so flat. And like I said, if we bring an atmosphere and we start to show that we are pushing the team and they're still not going out and showing heart and showing passion, then, you know, I think, you know, it's fair enough that we can then say what's going on at this club, but it's important that we don't leave the excuse to, oh, the fans aren't behind us. Not that Marco Silva is using that excuse, but, you know, that might be the excuse that some players are using for their own sort of personal gain. Jamie says, Lookman needs to be our star attacker. Yes, I agree. At the minute, he's probably our best attacker at the minute. And Jamie also says, best of luck for 300 subs, pal. Thank you very much for that, Jamie. AXM Music says, I think Lookman and Bernard should fight it for the number 10 and drop Gylfi back. I agree. Martin says, it's all the dead wood that's holding us back. We need to get rid of 10 of them, get 6 quality signings in. I agree, but are we going to be able to get rid? That is the question. Star says, so it's pretty clear these players aren't good enough to play in the system Silva won, so for now, formation change will be the way to go. I'd give 3-5-2 a good run of games now. Yeah, we see in 3-5-2. We see in the fact that, you know, it worked in certain games. Burnley, it didn't work in other games. City, but, you know, I think consistency is an important thing this season, and I think that's something that we haven't had, and that would be one of the sort of negatives I would say about Marco Silva this season, is that we haven't been consistent in our form, in our formations, in our run of games. We haven't been consistent. We've constantly changed starting 11, we've constantly changed captain, we've constantly changed formation, we've constantly changed centre-back partnership, and is that because Marco Silva is just changing because the players aren't good enough to fit his specific system, or is he changing because one week he thinks, this will work, and the next week he thinks, that'll work? For me, I think we just need some consistency, and we just need to keep with one system, one way of playing that works. 3-5-2 might be that way. It might work for a decent run of games. Keep to that, and then we go from there. You know, I think it doesn't help anyone, certainly not these players, by constantly changing, because they're going into training week in, week out, and they're not knowing who they're going to be playing next to. They're not knowing who the captain is going to be, who's going to lead the team out. They're not knowing which formation they're going to be able to play. So it's virtually impossible for them to, you know, really, really work hard and train on getting better at football if the systems are constantly changing week in, week out. So that's definitely an issue, I would say. Shabba says, funnily enough, Cam, although I'm totally peed off with the bunch of, I'm not going to say that word, but bees, it's times like this that I get fully behind the team. It's easy enough to support them when they're winning. Exactly, and it's tough to support. It's tough to, you know, want to come in, and that's why I appreciate all of you guys. That's why I appreciate the 2,000 views on the Millwall Instant Match Reaction. That's why I appreciate everybody that come over to the stream before. That's why I appreciate everyone that's here now, because it's really, really tough to even want to think about Everton at the minute in the form that we are in. So it's important that, you know, we are here and we are talking about it and we are bringing the issues up. If you listen, if your opinion is that Marco Silva isn't good enough and he's not the right man for the job, fair enough. Voice that opinion, that's 100% fair enough, and there is going to be facts to back that up. My opinion is that he's not being backed at the minute, and, you know, I think he's on a little bit of a tightrope, and a lot of it's not his fault. Yes, there are issues that, you know, he brings and that we need to sort out, but there's other issues that go beyond Silva. The leadership issue, the captaincy issue, the fact that, you know, he's not being backed in this transfer window, the fact that there's a lot of dead wood that we cannot move on because of the fact of being brought in on stupidly, you know, high amounts of wages, and teams will look at them and go, I ain't paying that, and they're not good enough to sign on a permanent, so we'll just knock the transfer back. I think, for me, I would be keeping Marco Silva, and I would be giving him the 3 or 4 transfer windows that the majority of us sat back and said he needs before he even signed the contract. We said whoever the next manager is needs 3 or 4 transfer windows to you know, sort this mess out, because it really is a mess, and that's what I will be giving Marco Silva personally. Reason says 100% Cam, the deadwood in the squad is not Silva's fault. We're going to make massive losses on players, which is a knock on who we can bring in. It's going to take time. Exactly, 100%. And, you know, Farhad Mashiri's come out and said, listen, I don't want to pour too much money into the club because I've already poured £250 million into it. And that's fair enough. But listen, Farhad, if you're watching, which I know you're not going to be, the $250 million that you poured into the squad, you probably ain't going to get half of it back, because we signed Snidlin for $26 million, was it? You probably won't get half of that back. Niasse for 14, you'd be lucky to get half of that back. Sandro, okay, was 5, but the amount of wages we spent on him, you won't get most of that back. A lot of deadwood players, Balassi 30 million, you won't get half of that back. A lot of these players that were brought in, you ain't going to make anywhere near evens on them, never mind the profit. So we need to understand that, and I think our board need to understand that that isn't Marco Silva's fault. And I can only hope that now that Marcel Brands is on the board, I can only hope that he's voicing them thoughts to the rest of the board members. He's voicing that to Farhad Mashiri. He's voicing that to Bill Kenwright and saying, listen, this ain't his fault that these players aren't good enough to play for this football club. So give me and give him the funds, and we will go and bring in players that are good enough. And then it's down to the board then to do that. Mitchell says, what's your favourite performance of the season so far, bar the calamity? Mine was Anfield. Yeah, Anfield, I'd say the same for me as well. Either Anfield or Burnley away, just because we absolutely destroyed them. That guy says, I'm definitely backing Marco. I think we need to be a bit more realistic and realise that no manager is going to come in straight away and challenge the top 6. We need to give time. Exactly, and I think we need to take a step back as Evertonians and just realise how where we are as a football club at the minute, because I think after we win 2 or 3 or 4 games, I think fans start to think, right, we can challenge for the top 4 now. We're 1 striker away from Liverpool. We're not. We're miles away from the top 4, and we need to understand that at the minute, realistically, we are just a floating team in the top 10. That's all we are. We're not challenging for any cups. We're not challenging for the league. We're not challenging for the Champions League. Yes, we may challenge for the Europa League. We're not going to get relegated. So we are just one of them teams at the minute. And we need to understand that, yes, it's okay to sit here and say, that's what we are, but we don't want to be that anymore. We want to get to here. We want to go. We want to challenge for the Premier League. We want to challenge for the Champions League. Yes, that's okay to do that. But we need to, firstly, before we go on about, you know, where we're going to be in 4 years, we need to realise and understand where we are now and accept that, for us to then say, right, okay, here's where we are. How do we go about, you know, moving up and being better? So yeah, that I agree 100%. So we'll talk about the rest of my predicted starting 11 now, and then I'll dive back into the live comments. So in terms of the front 4, like we said, the midfield, I've gone again, Gylfi Sigurdsson playing a little bit of a deeper role. Front 4, I've gone for Richarlison on the left, Bernard in the middle, Lookman on the right, and Cenk Tosun up front. And I think this one would probably get a little bit of backlash, I think, because, listen, Richarlison on the left, I know a lot of people have been saying, you know, he's not been playing good enough at the minute, he's frustrating, he is, but for me, he scores goals, and especially in a game against a team like Huddersfield, who defensively have been poor this season, who have struggled, who are sitting, you know, 20th rock bottom in the Premier League, you know, 2 wins and 5 draws, we need every single one of our players that scores goals in that starting 11, and he is the player that's scoring the most goals for us this season, so that's why I think he should start. Looking on the other side, I still think he deserves his run of games. I think he's been playing well, wasn't fantastic against Millwall, wasn't particularly fantastic against Southampton, but again, he can turn it on at any point, and if we give him the service, I do think he'll be able to turn it on, especially against a team like Huddersfield, who are struggling. Gone for Bernard in the 10. I really want to see Bernard in the 10. I really want to see Bernard playing the number 10 because I think he can do that role. I think he'd be more beneficial playing that role because he would have a lot more space in the centre of the midfield and he would be able to play it left, right and forward towards, you know, the striker, whether it's Tosun or whoever's up front. And, you know, I think it's just a position that I think a lot of Evertonians will agree with me saying we want to see Bernard playing that role because he's done it before for previous clubs. He's done it before for his country. And, you know, he's proven in spells when he's drifted into the centre of midfield for Everton. He's done really well. He's done it against Burnley. He drifted in and he played a really lovely pass for the foul on Calvert-Lewin, which ended up being Luca Dean's free kick. So for me, I would go with him. And Cenk Tosun up front. Now, we'll talk about Cenk Tosun. Listen, there'll be a lot of people in the comments saying, I want to see Richarlison, I want to see Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And that's fair enough. If you want to see Richarlison play as the 9 or Calvert-Lewin, that's fair enough. For me, I think at the minute, the situation we are in, I'd just give Cenk Tosun another go. Yes, we probably did write him off in earlier on in the season. Yes, we probably did say the lad's not good enough. But, you know, he seems to me to be the only player at the minute that wants to fight for the badge, that wants to put in any type of performance that, you know, makes us think, you know what, you deserve that today. He scored, obviously, against Millwall, a really good finish, which I'm hoping will give him a load of confidence, and that's part of the reason as to why I put him in the predicted starting 11 today. But, you know, even his celebration, giving it that, loving it with the fans, I think at the minute we need players that are willing to fight and show their passion for our football club, and Cenk Tosun is definitely one of them players. In a game like this tomorrow, we were playing a team that we could easily beat on paper, but if we don't show that passion and fight, and they do, it's going to be really tough and we may be in danger of being beaten. We need the players that will show that passion and that will show their fight. Whether they're good enough or not, whether they're fantastic players, whether Cenk Tosun is good enough to be our number 9 in the near future, whether Cenk Tosun is good enough to, you know, be our striker at the start of next season, it's irrelevant. For me, at the minute, he's looking like one of the only players that wants to show the passion and the fight to, you know, play for our football club. He said it in his interviews, I want to fight for these fans. These are fans who have shown faith in me. I'm going to fight for them. And that is 100% the attitude that we need. And that's why, for me, I would start him tomorrow. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below about my predicted starting 11. Leave your thoughts in the live chat as well if you are joining us live. David says, Huddersfield, Wolves, Man City, Watford and Cardiff next 5. I'd be happy with 7 points, to be honest. We don't have the money to help Silva, so just need to get on and get these players working. Exactly, for me, listen, I think, obviously, City is... It's Manchester City. It's one of them games where at the minute we're probably not good enough to beat a Manchester City. But listen, Huddersfield, Wolves, Watford and Cardiff, I think we should be winning all of them games of football, in my opinion. I think we need to be winning all of them games of football. And I agree with you. Like I said, listen, the players that we have now just need to start showing a little bit more and taking a little bit more responsibility for their performances because they haven't been good enough at the minute. Andrew says, we might take a loss on Tosun if we sell him. Exactly. And I think at the minute, Tosun wouldn't be on my list to sell. I don't think at the minute. I think there's other players around him that aren't pulling their own weight and aren't good enough to be in and around this squad. At least Tosun has shown a little bit of passion. At least he's shown a little bit of fight. And that's why, for me, I would keep a hold of him. Martin says, I think Brands is now more important than the manager. It will take 2 to 3 years to sort the squad out. All signings will be under 25 and lower wages, so we can sell easily if they don't work out. Yeah, exactly. Brands is now a member of the board as well. So, you know, listen... He's automatically sitting higher than Marco Silva. He's automatically got more control than Marco Silva over this squad, so, and over this team and over this football club. So, you know, you're 100% right. I think it's important that we understand that Brands will have a lot more responsibility in, you know, the progression of our football club than what Marco Silva will have at the minute. And whether Marco Silva stays or leaves, Brands will always be here. Well, for the time being anyway, at least. Andrew says we're a top 10 team. I agree with that. Martin says, yes, spot on. We just need to support the team. Yes, 100%. Andrew says the club have written him off. They've put him for sale. Tossing. I don't think they have. And if they have, I think we will definitely, you know, be retracting that decision to put him up for sale, because I think at the minute we just need to keep a hold of the players that show they want to play for this football club and show their fight, and Tosin is definitely one of them. Reason says, I'd be happy to see Tosin up front and Bernard or Lookman as the 10 with Gylfi in for Gomez, because that lad looks like he could do with the rest. Exactly, and that's why I've taken him out of my predicted starting 11. I think Andre Gomez does need a little bit of a rest. I think we've seen in the last couple of games, in the last couple of weeks, he's been getting frustrated. He's been showing that he obviously is frustrated with how we are playing, and the fact that he's obviously a little bit tired, and in terms of fitness way he's struggling because of the amount of games he's played in recent weeks. So I think he probably does deserve a rest. David says no Coleman, no Sigurdsson, get John Joe and Tom in for work rate, and Bernard through the middle. I've been asking for a month now and just causes a stir in my boxes. Yes, like you said there, 100%. Listen, I think will be a lot of shouts for the likes of John Joe Kenny and Tom Davies to come in. There will be a lot of shouts for Sigurdsson's, Coleman's, Gomez's to drop out. There'll be a lot of shouts for just players that want to play for this football club to come in and get their opportunity now. I think we need to make sure that the players that are coming in are good enough to win football matches. Not that I don't think Tom or John Joe are, but I think it's important that we play the players that want to fight for this football club, and that's why I put Cenk Tosun in, because I think he is one of them, and that's why I wouldn't be totally against seeing Tom Davies come in or a John Joe Kenny, because I think they all will know what it means to play for this football club as well. So yeah, for me, in summary, like I said, it's going to be a tough game, because, you know, Huddersfield are under new management. They're going to want to prove themselves. They're going to want to climb out of this relegation zone. They're going to want to prove that they're a good enough team to stay in the Premier League, despite the fact that they're rock bottom with only 2 wins this season, sorry. But they're going to come with passion and fight, and that, what have we been saying all season? When teams come with passion and fight and urgency, we need to match that or do better. So, you know, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I said that in the preview to the Millwall game, and that come true. Millwall beat us because their players worked hard and ours didn't. No matter how talented ours are, they didn't work hard enough. And that was what lost us that game. And I think stupid defensive mistakes and the fact that our players didn't seem interested enough lost us that game. So we need to make sure that we turn up tomorrow and we show that we want to win this game of football, and we need to win this game of football, and then our talent will drag us through this. Let me know your thoughts in the live comments down below. If you have enjoyed the stream so far, please do leave a like, rate and subscribe if you are new to the channel as well. So close to 300 subscribers, so thank you all very, very much for that, and thanks for all the support on the recent videos as well. The support on the stream earlier on today was absolutely fantastic, so thank you very much for that. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be a tough game. It's not going to be easy away from home against a team that have got something to prove, and that will at the very least bring passion and bring fight. If they don't bring quality, they will bring the, you know, they will bring the passion, and the fans will be behind them, because it's a new era for them. It's a new regime under a new manager, and all their focus is now is going to be on winning football matches and staying in this league, and our focus should just be on constantly winning football matches to get as high of a league position as we can at the end of the season, because that's all we've got to play for at the minute. Andrew says, what do you think of the rumours linking us with Thomas Meunier, Belgian right, who plays for PSG? I would take him definitely, but I don't think there's much in them, if I'm being honest. And Stoll says, what striker do you think would take us to that next level? One we could get, obviously. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I think there's a lot of strikers out there, and I think there's a lot of players out there that will be on Marcel Brands' radar that won't particularly be on my radar, because I haven't got that wide range of football knowledge. But I think, you know, whoever we bring in, we need to bring in improvements on what we have. And, you know, we might bring in a striker, Batshuayi, for example, and people might go, well, he's not good enough to get us in the Champions League. He's not good enough to win us the league. But the important thing is, he's better than what we've got at the minute, and that's what we need to focus on. And then we can get, you know, we can slowly improve, and then we can get players that are good enough to take us to that next level. And I think that's the most important thing. But anyway, that is going to do it for this stream. Please do leave a like if you have enjoyed. Thank you to everybody in the live comments, as per usual. If you're watching this as a video afterwards, please do leave your comments on the game and what you think about my predicted starting 11. Leave your predicted starting 11. Leave all of your score predictions, and why do you think our players aren't quite doing it at the minute. Why aren't they showing the heart? Why aren't they showing the passion? What is going on at our football club? Leave your thoughts in the live comments. If you have enjoyed the stream, please do leave a like, rate, and like I mentioned, subscribe if you're new. So close to 300 subscribers now, so thank you all very, very much for that. Andrew says, Brands will look at unknown strikers. Exactly, 100%, and he's got a wider football knowledge than me, so, you know, I might say Batshuayi, I might say Lozano, I might say Wan-Bissaka for right back. We might go out and get 3 players I've never heard of, and they might be absolutely quality, and in a way, that is, you know, that's a good thing, isn't it? Because if we're bringing in players that nobody's really heard of, that are secret gems, we'll get them on a cheaper price, and, you know, if they're as good as some of the players that we're looking at, then why not bring them in? Ray says, great stream, see you later, come on you Blues. Sorry, thank you so much today, and thank you everybody else who was in the live chat as well. If you have enjoyed, like I said, please do leave a like. I'll be back tomorrow for my instant match reaction to this game. Oh, I'm crying because I've just coughing, and promise I'm not crying because Everton are so poor at the minute. But yeah, I'll be back for my instant match reaction after the game tomorrow, and then obviously we'll have the full game review on Wednesday. Hopefully they're both positive ones, and hopefully we're saying we've got another 3 points on the board now. Let's now, you know, move on and start to win football matches in the Premier League and get a decent run of form behind us, because that is what we need. Andrew says South American strikers, well, 1 or 2. Yes, Marcel Brands does know the South American market very, very well. He's worked in there before, you know, he's scouted players in there before as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of South Americans come in. And Chan says, would love to see Alexander Mitrovic from Fulham. He's definitely a player that shows heart, definitely a player that shows passion, and a player that, you know, will give his all for the shirt. Whether he's good enough, whether he's got the quality is a different question, but he, you know, like I said, he's definitely a player that will show that passion. But anyway, that is going to do it for me. Thank you all very much for watching. Please do like the stream if you have enjoyed. Leave your comments in the comments if you're watching this as a video, and I'll be replying to them all night as well. Subscribe if you're new, so close to hitting that 300 subscribers now. Please do follow us on Twitter as well, at MightyBluesYT, if you haven't already. That's going to do it from me. I'll see you guys for the instant match reaction tomorrow after the game, and then the full game review on Wednesday as well. Let's hope it's a positive one. But thank you everyone for joining me live. If you're in the live chat, much appreciated as per usual. That's going to do it from me. Cheers for watching. Leave a like if you have enjoyed, and thank you for watching. That's it from me today. Yeah, let's hope we can go out and get the 3 points. Cheers for watching.